What up, Darby O'Gill?
Hey.
Otherwise known as Andy Morris. How are you?
I'm doing all right, getting by best I can.
We're going to get into COVID in a minute, but I really wanted to talk to you about some of the music because you started early. I watched this video of you.
Andy, who would you like to do for us? What do you think is best?
Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. Okay, give us a little Richard Nixon, Andy.
I did do it.
Super cool. What was that like? Like, it must have been rehearsed, right?
Yeah, how it worked was I went in earlier and they had written the bit all out and everything, and they took what I knew how to do and worked with that, and they wrote it all out. And what you don't see in that video is he goes out into the audience and he does 3 guys and then me, and all of us were plants in the audience. It was all a bit.
Let's just talk about how you got from that kid to being Darby O'Gill.
It was a lot of things. My dad was a musician growing up, local musician here in town, played in bands, my whole life. And a lot of the theater stuff I did. I went to school in New York for theater for a couple of years, the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. So I went out there and I had previous bands leading up to Darby. I had the Kickworms, which was a hip hop band. And then when I got to Darbs, I just melded all the things that I knew about theater and music and bands and all that stuff and just melded it all together into the Darby O'Gill experience.
What was your COVID experience?
Pretty intense. So we did on St. Patrick, everything got canceled a day or two before St. Patrick's Day, which is our biggest day of the year. So it got canceled right before then, and and everyone was do a live stream, get together and do a live stream. So I go, well, that's probably what we should do. So we get together in this room right here, which I don't know if you could tell, it's not very big. So we squeezed all 5 of us in here, and we did a show. We did a 2-hour live stream. But I think that our drummer had COVID, I think, or one of us did at least, and 2 more of us got it. Me and Ringo both got it.
Wow.
I didn't do a test when I had it, but Ringo did, and he tested positive, and then I tested positive for antibodies later.
Wow.
So we got it. Ringo's experience, I guess, was a lot more intense than mine. Mine was really, really light.
Mm-hmm. You have a feeling that at least one of you had COVID during that live stream.
Yeah, because I talked to Steve, and Steve thinks he may have had it, but again, he never got tested. So, but also we were out and about those previous, because it's not just St. Patrick's Day where we have a lot of gigs, it's all those days leading up.
Yeah. So
we had 3-4 gigs a day, the 3 days leading up to it.
Right. So
we were out and about in in all the bars and stuff. We were at one bar, and the guy the owner of the bar comes up to me and he goes, hey, is it okay if you use your microphone? I wash my hands. And then he just starts talking in the microphone.
Oh no.
Oh, thank God your hands are washed.
Oh my gosh.
But to be honest, back then, people were a little freaking out about it, but no one was taking the kind of steps that they should have been taking and took later. There was no masks, there was no real, everyone was really it was the real early days of it. No one really took it that seriously. My feeling was this is going to be like H1N1 or SARS, or it's going to be a little thing for a little while. It's going to go away. Yeah. I never imagined it to shut down my entire industry. Never imagined that would happen.
Nobody ever imagined that we would be where we are. And I would be remiss if I didn't go back on you mentioning Steve, who we sadly lost this last year. What good memories we have with Steve, and we'll talk a little bit more about him a little bit later, but cheers to him for sure. COVID has been rough, I think, for people. And I do want to talk about your song Too Cold to Cry.
Well, I wrote it actually 2 years ago. I wrote it on the year anniversary of that day when all that happened. And that was a really, really rough day because it was the October shootings, and there was this national tragedy because of those that happened here. And then Tom Petty died, which was also a national tragedy. And then my friend Allie committed suicide. And she was also a member of Darby for a couple of years. And all of that happened like in the same like 72-hour period. Like it all came right at once. And it was just it was really hard to process all that stuff, you know, because it was usually you have to process one of those things at a time, you know, like the death of an idol, the innocence taken away from your city, you know, like, and even though Vegas is not that innocent, you know, but still it still is violent, horribly violent act that happened, like, you know, down the road. And then your friend committing suicide. It was just a lot to process at once. So I wrote that song, and I wanted to write it in the style of Tom Petty. So I wanted it to sound like a Tom Petty song. And I just wanted it, and just each verse was just about one of those things.
Yeah. Do you think the writing process did help with that processing? Because I think the processing part is tough for people, because it's like everybody does it differently. Everybody processes things differently in different times, and like we don't even know what's going on. Like we don't even know we're processing, you know? It's hard to tell what's going on. But do you think writing that song helped?
Yeah, I have found that when I get in places of like sadness, that doing something creative and finding some sort of creative outlet, it at least takes your mind off it really well. You know, just like someone who like works or cooks or does something that just takes their mind off of it, and that is definitely good for the process. But yeah, it's real cathartic to work it out, because I've never worked things out like talking to people or anything. That's never really helped. I'm not the kind of person that does that, so I kind of need to work it out on my own. And working it out creatively is kind of my way of like, and then releasing it for people's consumption is another way to, like, you know, work through it. So we've started Darby rehearsals again, but I've also, there was a Facebook ad that asked for actors in a puppet theater, and I went and did that. And I got the part in this show, and I play 3 different characters in this puppet show at the Las Vegas Puppet Workshop. And I'm really excited about that. I also am going to do a YouTube channel with puppets. It's going to be one like younger puppet and his 2 uncles, and one uncle is a crazy liberal and the other's a crazy conservative. And it's Zoom conversations like this with the puppets, only it's the younger puppet trying to figure out the world and asking his uncle's advice. Okay. So it's basically a way for us to write like Daily Show style comedy through these puppets, you know, and it's something I can do all in my garage in front of green screens. I can play all 3 characters. I'm not really sure. I think it's going to be like Charlie Figures Out the World or something like that. Or we also have other puppet conceptions that we're working on. So it might be just a blanket puppet channel, and then all these are little episodes within it. I'm also starting a podcast pretty soon called Skinny Matt's Tinfoil Hat.
Oh, I love it.
It's good. It's an idea I've had for a really long time with my buddy Skinny Matt, and we're going to do it remotely, and I'm going to edit it together here.
Sounds amazing. I can't wait for that. Nancy Whiskey!
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at you. Look at Darby's like studio.
Right?
What are you doing? Is that my room that you're?
Is it your room?
Yeah, the room with your childhood bed in it that I used to sleep in when I was drunk.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's your childhood bed.
Got rid of the childhood bed. It was like a guest room that we had that Kristen and all her lesbian friends used to sleep in.
Well, welcome. Thank you, Tristan, for joining us. Tell everybody where you are.
Okay, so right now I'm in Killiney, which is about 30 minutes outside of Dublin city center, Dublin, Ireland. We moved here in the lockdown because in the lockdown we were in the city center and it was really depressing. So now we're by the seaside.
And how are you doing? Are you keeping up with your music?
I mean, I'm not playing with anybody. I'm just playing alone. I guess that's good in a way. We're home all the time. Right now, Ireland is on level 3, which means all the restaurants and bars are closed besides 15 people could sit outside. Actually, they're in talks now of moving us to level 5, which means it'll be like full lockdown. I went into the city center today and every single patio was just packed of people like drinking all the Guinness they could because like may get shut down for like the next 6 weeks. Playing it extremely safe. So yeah, we're here in Killiney by the seaside, just walking to the ocean every day, and that's all we do really.
Let's talk about the good old days.
So one thing I'd like to note is that it is 10:30 at night here.
Okay.
So due to that, I'm gonna have some powers.
Well, I'm gonna join you with coffee before we get into all the old Darby days.
Let me go get some booze.
You're gonna get booze. Okay, well, me and Tristan can catch up, and because Tristan, you have some fans too that want to hear from you. Like I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed to know so many cool people that have stories. Like, you know, we haven't caught up in forever, but like we would just.
No, I mean, I would like to catch up with everybody more. Like, I think that this quarantine and this like lockdown has kind of caused that. Like, a lot of people want to like kind of look at his shorts.
Yeah, go Andy. That's the Andy we know and love.
You're lucky I'm wearing anything down there at all.
He did put shorts on for us.
I don't know.
There are crazy stories. Well, Fido's and Quinn's, like, what about that place in particular can you guys remember? I mean, there's a lot. The parking lot alone has a bunch of
stuff. Yeah. There's a million stories.
There's too many, and it's like I don't know really what it's okay to bring up anymore because.
Yeah.
Well, when we started Darbs, like we got kind of lucky. We were in Fido, and it started out really big. Like it started out with a big crowd, and then it kind of tapered off, and then slowly built back up. And then we had a big crowd for a really long time.
We were so popular at one point. I remember that we had like leverage. Like the bar decided they were going to charge a cover, which is like unheard of in Vegas. And we were like, you guys don't stop charging this cover, we'll walk out or something. Like we did that a couple times, and then like we like had so much like power at the time. I don't know why. It was just like,
oh, I know why. There were tons of people coming to the bar. Like we leveraged that a couple of times.
And who do we have here? We have a guest.
Oh, this is Yolanda.
Yolanda.
That's so
cute. You guys had a good dynamic too of picking each other up. Do you miss that? Do you miss working with each other?
I miss this so much. I miss playing in the band. I miss being in a band, and I miss it. I do.
I miss playing with Nancy a lot because it was we had this dynamic that we just kind of fostered over years and years of being able to do improv bits that were funny and interesting and cool, and that we just would do off the cuff every night. We knew which buttons to push on each other to elicit certain responses, you know, if we wanted to, you know, and steer it in a different direction. And it was a lot of fun. And it was just something we just developed naturally over time.
One time I went with my friends to Dropkick Murphys when I was in Darby of Guild and the Little People. And so obviously that was all of our fans that were there. But I walked in, I mean, I was like the queen of that show because everybody had been Darby O'Gill fans. And they're like, well, we can't meet the guys in Dropkick Murphys, but Nancy Whiskey is here. They bought me so many drinks, right? But we went in, it was like the Mandalay Bears and me. Went into the bathroom. I had my 2 girlfriends with me. And I fell straight back. And my high heels flew off my feet like that. And then my friends grabbed my high heels, put them back on my feet, picked me up, and took me back to the bar. Now that story is funnier because about a year later, I was at McMullen's playing the gig, and some girl came up to me and she was like, you know when you fell in the bathroom at Dropkick Murphy? I was there. I'm so glad we had the band before all this smartphone shit. I'm so glad. I'm thankful for that on a daily.
Should we have a toast for Steve?
Yeah.
I stole some bourbon.
But I'm gonna have coffee. We've had a lot of friends and family and members and bandmates, and unfortunately we did lose one this year. So Darby, take it away.
Shit McDick, Steve Ferradino, may you be in heaven a half an hour before the devil knows you're dead. Sláinte.
Launcher. I don't think people really say that in Ireland.
Really? Well, I'm glad you're surviving COVID. It seems like we're doing okay. Everybody's just making it through. We're just kind of doing what we do.
People are resilient, you know, like people have lived through worse stuff, and at the end of the day, like I feel like people are coping the way they can. We're lucky that we have this shit, you know, computers and ways to talk to each other like on a screen and actually look at, you know, your family and friends. So like we're lucky it happened now and not even like 10 years ago. 10 years ago it would have been tougher, you know, than it is now digitally. And you know, like I've seen so many bands. I saw Truck Stop Honeymoon. I've seen so many bands since this happened. Like we're able to still stay connected and people are able to still keep something the norm that they wouldn't have before. It's like I'm talking to you guys. I'm in Ireland right now. I'm like talking to you guys, you know, like in real time. So we're, you know, I think that's gonna be, you know, helpful in getting through this.
Any like last words, last thoughts?
I wanted to tell one about the time that Andy ruined Halloween.
Oh. I remember you ruining Halloween.
It's almost Halloween. I just wanted to bring up the time that Andy actually ruined Halloween.
Which crime was this?
So you're admitting there's multiple times that you ruined Halloween.
I coped with you ruining Halloween is what happened. And I think that's what you're thinking of.
So at the end of the day, Halloween was either the most fun or the biggest fight we had all year because we wanted it to be perfect and we all loved it.
Tristan always, to be fair, Tristan always had the best costume ideas. She had the best one, but some years she couldn't think of anything, right? So it was up to me to think of something. And when I did think of something, it was never good enough.
But
It was always shit.
one year, Andy wanted to go as Scooby-Doo in the gang.
October 15th, right? Which is really late for us to pick a costume. We usually pick one like middle of the year.
Yeah, and so he.
So I had to make an executive decision.
At the time, Ringo had gained a lot of weight. So Ringo didn't want to go in the Scooby-Doo costume that Andy bought for him because he felt really fat in it. And so
this is new. I never even heard this.
I sided with Joe. And anyway.
But the way she sided with Joe was just causing a big stink about how terrible the idea was and how awful everything was. She didn't say, Joe's going to feel really insecure. And I never heard that until just now.
That's what happened. But what ended up happening was that we went as nothing. And Alex showed up as a hot dog. A bass playing hot dog. And Andy was so pissed off that he came in with a Phantom of the Opera mask on and he didn't talk the whole night.
I was fucking mad. It's my favorite day of the year and she wrecked it.
He didn't talk to anybody the whole night. He wore his weird Phantom of the Opera mask.
I don't even know if I did that. I think I went as nothing.
No, you had a Phantom of the Opera mask on.
Nobody else showed up dressed except for Alex in the hot dog costume.
No, Tristan and Joe went as Penny and Dolly. So they did a group costume. That's good for them. But yeah, that was awesome. And it was basically a lack of planning that wrecked all that, you know, on our part collectively.
Well, I mean, I just think that
I think Tristan came up with like every single costume idea for like the last like 8 years before that, and they were all really good. So she failed at that. And we ended up having a huge
so many
blow-up.
good ones since I've been out of the band. Since I've been out of the band, I've had so many good ideas.
There were some awesome Halloween costumes.
There's some photos that we can't run for office now because of
What were some of the really good ones?
I think the Elvises.
the Elvis in multiple eras.
Right.
Because we did, I was like big fat, like pilled out, like ready to die Elvis. Tristan was like sexy comeback special Elvis. Is that what it was? No, the
Yeah, I was
comeback
like in
special
the
was
gold
leather.
lame.
Yeah, she was.
No, I was in the
lame.
gold lame.
And Paul was Jailhouse Rock. Ringo was Zombie Dead Elvis, and then Ted was Elvis Costello. We did Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, like the Muppet Band. It was kind of hard to dress as Muppets. Because first of all, none of us knew what kind of pants to wear, because you don't see Muppets from the waist down. The 1960s Batman costume was good. We looked really good in that.
The Juggalo year.
Yeah,
There's
that
a
was
really...
the first year. That was Tristan's idea.
My idea,
she
but
was
I was
not in the band.
band.
That was the first year she left, and she left like a month before that too. But she goes, "We should do Juggalos," and I said, "Oh yes, we should," and we did.
I miss you guys.
I know.
I miss you,
I miss you
and
guys
like
too.
just playing with you, Rachel. Like you're such an incredible, brilliant musician, and I just miss you guys. I miss playing with you. I just miss singing with you, Andy. I do. I miss singing with you so bad. And yeah, like, you know, just take care of yourselves. Like this will end, you know, and you know, maybe something good will come out of it. Like honestly, like I feel like those are the things I'm kind of like, I think this has exposed a lot of bullshit that we've been like kind of following. Like we've been all just like, why are we doing this? You know, like it's opened a lot of eyes. Like we're going through this like kind of global experience with all these other people, and it's interesting in that sense. You know that there's
It's
not
shining light on a lot of things.
yeah, and there's not somewhere where that like somebody can just run off and get away from this. It's the whole world is going through it. You know, so that's interesting to me, and I think it'll end. We could just stay home and like make some music, chat online, and do some things like this, like get healthy, you know, work out. We're fine, you know. So.
Yeah, I've been getting healthy.
Are you kidding?
Really?
No.
Working out? Oh, you're doing a video? Are you doing one of them apps?
No, I'm not doing anything. No.
But no, I'm just saying, like I think
I've gone up a cup size.
I think it'll be okay, and I think we'll get through it, and maybe we'll grow somehow. But yeah, like the last thing I have to say is that I just miss you guys. I wish the best for you guys every day. I hope that you guys are happy and healthy, and like, you know, I think we all were sad like what happened with Steve, and like, you know, it's you get to this age where you just want everybody you know to be okay and like safe and okay, and like that's all you want. You know, just like, I just want everybody to be just like, got their bills paid, like happy, okay, like in a good health, you know, so.
In the video, the old video of you guys playing together, one of the classic clips of Darby, so people...
It's that super old YouTube video. Do you remember that?
God. So old.
But it just is a glimpse into the past.
I don't mind if you play it. I was like 100 pounds lighter. Play that shit.
Okay. Well, we're going to end with that, but thank you so much, Andy Morris, Tristan
Thank
Moyer,
you.
Darby O'Gill, and Nancy Whiskey.
So now, a warm hand of applause for Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to see your faces.
Thanks so much. It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'm going back to sentimental Johnny. The sentimental Johnny is your man. Sunshine.